Hey guys, I'm just making this video real quick because on my 10 Incredible Techniques video, a lot of people have been asking how to do certain things in CSTimer. So I figured I'd just make a full video showing what I do to set up CSTimer, which I think is somewhat optimal for practicing, but I'm not really sure. So if you have anything I should add, leave it in the comments. So right here I have a completely fresh CSTimer page, and so if you go to CSTimer for the first time, this is what it will look like. And the first thing you want to do to change everything to the way you want it is go into settings, which you do by clicking on this gear right here, and if you put your mouse over it, it will say option, but I just call it settings. And then this pops up. First thing, I'm going to go over some aesthetic stuff, which doesn't really matter, but it might make it better in some way. So first thing, the timer font. So right now it's this really sort of robotic mechanical one, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So I would switch it to normal. But you can check all of them and see which one you like best, but normal is my favorite, and you can see the difference now. It looks like much more natural text. Second thing, I switch milliseconds on just to get that little bit more precision, because why not? And here, you could import a background image if you want, but I'm not going to do that. Second thing, color. And right now, the color is this really ugly sort of light yellow and then this light pink. So this is honestly really ugly in my opinion. So first thing I do is I go from style 1 to style 6. And I really like this one. I really like the blue. This green is a little bit off, but here you can switch that. See here it says board color. Board refers to this, and then the scramble bits up here and over here. And so I click on that, and I can switch the color to what I want. I can just pick something like that. And I think that looks good. So those are the kind of colors I'd like. I can also switch the logo color, maybe to a nice red. Or I could do just white if I wanted to. And maybe I'll change some of the buttons and stuff as well. I think this looks pretty good. So that is the coloring. So let's keep going. The next button down is timer. And personally, I would turn on WCA inspection just for good practice. And so you have the voices that say 8 seconds and 12 seconds. You can switch it to either the male or female voice. I just choose the male. They both sound weird though. Entering times with. This is where you can change it between just using the timer and hitting the space bar. Or you can switch it to stack mat if you can connect your stack mat using a cable or something. Typing is where you can type in times and you don't connect your stack mat. And then virtual is the virtual cube, which you control with the keyboard. And I'm always using either timer or typing. I'd say for 2x2, Pira, Scube, and OH, you should always be using typing. And then for the rest of them, you can use timer. Timer update is what the timer will update by when you're solving. So right now it's set to 0.1 seconds. So you can see when I'm solving, it's updating every 1/10 of a second. But let's say we don't want that, because honestly we don't. We don't want to have a reason to look at the timer. So I'd say change it to none. And so now if I do that, instead of counting down inspection, it says inspect. And instead of counting down the timer, it just says solve. And then my time shows up at the end. So that's all that. Time of keeping down space. That's how long you have to hold the space bar before you can start your solve. And I honestly keep this at default. It might be good to change it to 0.55 because apparently that's how long it takes for stack mat. And here there's this thing that says multi-phase, and that is basically if I set it to 2, then I start the timer. the first time I press the space bar, it won't end it. It will just make a split, and then the second time I press it, it will stop it. And you can use that to time individual steps on big cubes or whatever, but that's not really useful for just practicing grinding solves. Scramble, you can change how big it shows up. If you have trouble reading the smaller text, you can make it larger. I really don't have an issue with it. This thing can be useful because normally if you have it limited and you have like a Megamink scramble, you'll have to scroll to see all of it. And so that can be annoying. Those other ones I don't really use. And now for tools, I don't have any on right now. I'd say one is probably good, but there are a few tools. Draw Scramble's cool. Scramble Generator can be useful for some stuff, but that's what this is. Statistics is cool. Time distribution and time trend are honestly my favorites, but you can choose your favorites. And they also have Draw Scramble, Solve Cross, Solve EO-Line, Insertion Finder, and Metronome. And those are the tools, and you can change the size of the tools. You can change how many there are, up to 4. And then this final one says Statistics. So I can go over each of these. This one shows summary before time list. If I have a bunch of times in here, it'll say like current time, current mean of 3, best mean of 3, and that'll show up right here. And I honestly keep it on, but if you don't like it, you can turn it off here. Current scrambles and statistics. So if you have a session and you click on like your average of 5 or average of 12, it'll show the times and the scrambles, and I like that because I can just copy paste an average of 5 and put it in Google Hangouts so my friends can try it or whatever. Rename session immediately after creation. If I do that and I make a new session, then it would just ask me for a name immediately, and normally you'd have to click on the session, on the word session, and then change the name to 3x3 or whatever. But if you do that, it just automatically brings it up for you to switch it. Create new session when switching scramble type. That one's not really useful in my opinion, because that would just create a bunch of sessions that you only use once. And then restore scramble type when switching session is really useful, because it lets you have a 2x2 session that is already set to 2x2 scrambles, a 3x3 session that already has 3x3 scrambles, and so on. And then here, this part is talking about the average of 5 and average of 12 right here, which you can set to either average or mean and change the number it's calculating them for. I just keep it at 5 and 12 because those are the most useful. If you do a lot of mean of 3 events, you might change one of them to mean of 3 and have the other one be average of 5. It's up to you. But anyway, those are the features in CSTimer that I use. You can also do things like change the size of the timer or anything like that, but that's not really necessary. So I hope you learned some stuff in this video, and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments.